Republican, okay? You have the facts. Can you give me a sheet of why? Instead of just generalities, give me a fact. You've given me one fact. One, that Wyoming is less densely populated than Ohio.
And they also had, okay, I'll give you another fact here, okay? Earthquakes. Okay, earthquakes. We're going to talk about the injection wells. You've had a question. Hear me out.
We don't have time. We didn't come here to listen to you. You have spoken up. You need to sit. I don't care. You need to sit down. You need to sit down.
No, you're not going to tell us. Okay, the geology survey that was done by our people that work for us, United States Geology. Okay?
You listen to me for a second.
In 2009, there were 50 earthquakes. In 2010, there were 87. In 2011, there was an increase of 134. Now, that's a significant increase, and they started fracking 10 years ago.
Ma'am, you are disrupting our meeting.
I'm not disrupting the
Yes, you are.
I think we have a consensus here that you are disrupting our meeting.
You don't want
Therefore,
to know the truth.
You would, if you don't mind, you can suspend your talk.
No,
You can talk with other. Excuse me. This is our meeting. You are to leave at this time.
Goodbye.
Jim, why don't we let her put it all down on a piece of paper? She can drop this stuff off for our next meeting and we can read what she
Because I
has
wanted
to
to find
say.
out about you folks because I sell debt for a living. You know, I wanted to find out about my guy.
See ya.
I understand. Can I just ask him one last question and then I'll sit down?
No. You have demonstrated that you are not being orderly, and you are therefore invited to leave. Excuse me. The door is right there.
You've been polite, but you're taking up too much of our time.
Yeah, the same people that were hostile.
The door is waiting for you.
Goodbye.
Adam Friedrich apologized to us. He said that
The door is there. Would you like a policeman to take you out?
this is America. Shame on you.
Start acting like an American.
No, really. I'm
Out!
The door.
Move.
That's what Dave goes through in a friendly setting. Jeez.
I'll just tell you this. That's how usually they disrupt the meetings and try to take over by saying those kind of statements. And they usually they start out with a personal attack. And when they asked me about the state of Ohio, I said, "What's that different? How many the population?" Yeah. I'm concerned representing the district that I represent, and that's 121,000 people.
One thing, you do explain in your meetings that the safety issue of fracking, what you guys have to go through, you're governed through what you have to do to put in place for safety. That should be a no answer from somebody else. If you're doing it by what you're supposed to be doing, then it's a safe thing. If you're not doing it safe, then there's a problem. And it is safe. And that's the stuff, got to stop and stuff like that. We're trying to get money in the state, we're trying to get things going.
Representative Hall, question.
Yes, sir.
With all the drilling that's going on and all the abundance of gas and everything, what's being done by the state or by organizations or corporations to put in the infrastructure that industry is going to be able to take advantage of this great thing?
So what you have, and that's a good question, Homer.
You've got to get it into factories and so forth.
What you have right now is a lot of the old natural gas, some of the natural gas lines that East Ohio and Columbia has. They're going to reroute a lot of that to the industry. But you're hearing you have called Mark West, a company called Mark West. They're going to invest $900 million into the infrastructure. You have a couple other companies that are looking at Ohio to put some more infrastructure in. So you're going to see that's going to be our greatest hurdle in the process of making sure we have the infrastructure in there to get it to the refineries. Unfortunately, with the U.S. EPA, we do not have too many refineries in the United States. We have a few in the Toledo area. We do have a nice strong pipeline up to that area. We have one in the Canton area, strong pipeline, and one in Lima. So we do have those pipelines and get there. It's going to be the secondary lines that are going to have to be built to get to those major pipelines.
Are more of this being routed into the industrial complex along the Ohio River Valley? It seems to me like, you know, all these tree huggers are out there going about polluting the air and so forth, burning coal. They ought to be boosting the idea that we're going to be burning gas there rather than coal now.
And that's what a lot
cleaner.
of, you're right, a lot of electric companies are looking at turning over their plants to natural gas. It's just cheaper, and they don't have to go through the environmental standards of cleaning the coal and the scrubbers and that process there. And plus, you're seeing a lot of local mass transit. You're going to see a lot of those buses now go natural gas. And then now there's even a conversion, a company locally is doing a conversion where they'll be able to convert your vehicle, your gas vehicle, over to natural gas. The issue we have to deal with is getting the natural gas stations up. And that's called entrepreneurs getting involved in getting that process moving forward. Yes, sir.
Does the state have any plans in supporting financially the building of compressed natural gas filling stations? And a side note to that, I did some checking, and you cannot buy a school bus without a diesel engine. Yeah. And with the Tier 4 engines, the cost of operating has gone up considerably. And diesel engines are made to run 1,000,000 miles, and they throw the bus away at 200,000. Yeah.
And that's so true. I actually spoke to the superintendents about this, is the opportunity, but we have to get that gas station, that natural gas station there first. And then the governor's working with industry right now to see if we can get some of these places. But when the school systems are going to want a reassurance, we're not going to flip them, where they're going from, you know, they went from gasoline to diesel to natural gas. The natural gas is amazing. You know, we're paying almost $4 a gallon, just a regular unleaded. And I asked, how much would we pay if we did natural gas, and a little over $1 a gallon? You know, basically running at the figures. So, you know, we could save a lot of money on the school systems, but it's a matter of reassuring the superintendents that we're committed to this. And that's a huge commitment, and we're in the early stages of that process in the governor's energy plan. We're going to require down the road that every state vehicle is natural gas. And that's just putting in that natural gas infrastructure to the gas stations.
Smith Dairy has just started.
Yes, they are.
Splashed in the farm and dairy.
And you're going to see a lot of that. You're going to see a lot of businesses are going that way. You know, I've heard of some of the parcel services are looking at that. Some of the other places are, because they know there's about 250 years of natural gas availability in Ohio, and businesses want to make sure they have a secure, cheap energy. And if I was if I had my business, I'd be turning that around and making sure I had a natural gas vehicles. Yes, sir.
Why is it that Republicans always come up with the great ideas but have the worst way of getting the news out?
That's so true. I mean,
we need more women like her on our side as to be causing problems. I mean, I know we're never going to do it because we seem to be the Christian side of the politicians. But, you know,
you're true. That's so true. We have a terrible sales plan.
Well, you know, I guarantee there's nobody here who watches Fox News more than I do, because I have like a drip bag that goes in my arm because I get so, pissed off listening to people like that real heavy guy, who was an admitted socialist. 50 years ago, he would have been put in prison. Then you got the black guy who worked for NPR that I liked him better when he had tears in his eyes when he was crying when he got fired from it. The heavy guy, and the other one is Juan Williams. Yeah, I tell my wife that's her boyfriend. That really stinks.
Oh, Juan's okay. What about Jammu?
She gets around. But if we had something like a documentary, like something that you just said, because no matter if you're a Republican or a Democrat, the wallet always comes first.
Yeah, oh, I agree.
I have oil heat. That guy never thought of me or anybody up in St. Paul, Minnesota when they had to worry about heating their house. So at outrageous prices of oil, fracking sounds like a good idea. Now, I gave something to Jim that my neighbor was just at a meeting, I don't know if you're aware of it, in Lorraine County or someplace. That was more an agenda on Republicans because Kasich's name was on the title. Portman was accused of ignoring it, the problems of looking forward. Even Bashover was in there. All of these people, it was more of an agenda on screwing the Republicans than it was even their care about what's going to happen to the fossil fuels and everything.
That's why I've been out to 152 meetings. I'll tell you, trying to get the truth out is difficult in the process because, you know, we're pretty busy down in Columbus, and we're Republicans are at it, working hard down there to, you know, pull back government, and so it's hard to get back in the district and sell that. We need locals to stand up and gather the information and get out there and help us out. And that's the business community and all different sides, because, you know, if you want cheap energy, you know, it's here's what I said in Washington D.C. Two things can stop this whole thing. Number one is that you get some bad oil wells that just don't produce in Ohio, or number two, government. And, you know, I'm basically between everyone right now. I'm stopping it all to the chairman, so they're really not happy right now. And you get on some environmental sites, you'll see my name, and it's not pretty. Yes, sir.
This is off the fracking thing, but, and I'm not really against this, but I want to, since you're in the job, but people talk about groundwater contamination. The number one, I saw in Ohio State, anyway, they did this sort of investigating of whatever, what I can't think of, research. Lawn fertilizer, farmland stuff, that's the biggest thing about, you know, groundwater contamination, if I'm not mistaken. You know, pest control and all that. What, just tell me real quick, you know, around here this time of year, everybody's freaking out trying to kill their dandelions. You know, if something kills those, that's going to mess up the groundwater. How is, you know, you see these trucks going around, guys coming out and spraying stuff. How is that stuff, are you guys, is that a safe chemical they're putting on the ground, or?
Well, what you're seeing now, you're going to see with Scott's Fertilizer and some of the other groups, they're going with a anti-toxin chemical. Okay. They're coming out. I actually met with them, okay, and the Turf Grass Association leaders, and said you got to get to the green side of without, you know, putting a burden on the industry. Right. But that is a huge issue with the toxins and the nutrients that are put in our water. I'm working on the Lake Erie bill right now. I just passed out of the House, and a lot of it deals with the nutrients that go into Lake Erie. It calls the algae bloom. Yeah. That's what we're dealing with right now. We're trying to get it on top of that, and that's working with the farmers and those people who are applying those fertilizers and nutrients into the ground. We're finding out that a lot of these people don't even need all those nutrients. They're just being sold, and it's more of an educational piece to the communities and the farmers by saying the nutrients have to be, test your ground, think you got more nutrients than you ever need in your ground.
That was my one last thing, and I'll be quiet.
Yes,
because I think about this all the time. You probably got somebody that's got a no fracking sign in their lawn, and then they pay some guy to come by there and kill everything in there except the grass.
Well, and you're going to find out that's probably true in a lot of cases. And as you can see from this individual who was here, I got my hands full.
Yeah. That does make a lot of good dandelion wines, too.
There you go. Yes, sir.
You talked about abandoned wells. For your information, if anybody has an abandoned well, the state will plug that well at no cost. You just have to call the gas and oil portion of the state. Yes. Get on the list. It may take 5 years for them to get there, but they'll do it for no cost.
Okay. Yes, ma'am.
Is there a way to tell if it's an oil well or
if you have a pipe out of the ground, you have a pipe that's out of the ground that looks like it's been there a while, and you know, just call the Division of Oil and Gas, and they will come out and check it out. They'll have inspectors. Just we need to know either way. Yeah, we need to know anyways. I mean, that's the you just need that out of there, and there is a fund set up for those abandoned. Division of Oil and Gas. You go on the Ohio Department of Natural Resources website. under the Division of Oil and Gas, and you can call anyone down there or email them and say that you potentially have a abandoned well. Would someone come out and explore the issue?
Those of you in the room may not know this, and Representative Hall's probably too modest to say it, but he meets monthly in this county with the school superintendents. Monthly.
Yeah. And that's one thing about it is, somebody, the person that's talking, there can be a one-issue person, but my opponent has grasped these people and hugged on to them and working it pretty heavy. And it is going to be a difficult task because of that misinformation. You heard this person was a Republican. You're going to have those kind of people who are going to go out there and say at Republican meetings, Chairman Hall really killing our kids and our grandkids and whoever, but not have the facts. And Nancy, you're right. They won't give the facts on that. They will say this happened in this state, this will happen in this state, but they never say about Ohio. Yeah. Yes. Yes, sir.
Yes, I just have a question. When you're talking about the diesel buses, right? And you talk about CNG and the difference in price being CNG would be 1/4 the cost.
Yeah.
Wouldn't we have a quick payback if we took all our bus garages, made those fill stations, turned the buses into CNG, also frack on the school properties in rural areas where there may be natural gas, and a lot of that school to sell it into the transportation industry? That should save us a lot of money on the buses. We open up those CNG filling stations to the public, and then what are we doing about bringing CNG cars here? I mean, Honda's a big.
We're working on that. Actually, we're in negotiations to have a pilot, one of the big plants to do the natural gas vehicles. But it's amazing how the conversions aren't that bad. And I looked into myself in my own vehicle, and with the miles I travel, I can have that paid off in 8 months.
Right. The worst thing about it is that the federal EPA makes and that's the thing that's killing the state, is the federal government, but that's another whole story. But when you have to have catalytic converters on your car and emissions tests done,
oh, yes.
and you're talking CNG, it makes no sense.
It saves. Well, and the problem you have right now is a individual in Washington.
Yeah, right.
That could just basically go to the U.S. EPA and say, let's stop fracking.
Well, we think it's Washington, and it kind of reminds me of Great Britain back about 250 years ago.
Well, and that's the problem we have is we have an energy secretary who doesn't like oil and gas, and we have to be very mindful in the industry, and everyone's mindful. We can do things in Ohio and say we're going to fight it, but if Washington decides to get and say we're going to not have you do, it's like this. I have a bill in my committee that Democrats puts a moratorium on anything oil and gas. If I would accept that moratorium, we would not have to be able to heat our homes. We would not be able to actually we'd have $10 gasoline. So those are the things that are coming at me all the time. What do you think is going on in Washington?
That's why you mentioned states' rights earlier.
Well, that's why we're fighting back, and we have, in Ohio is different. Ohio EPA doesn't control the regulation of oil and gas. We do that under Ohio Department of Natural Resources, under the Oil and Gas Division, and we're able to do these things and move forward. I mean, Big Brother, U.S. EPA basically dangles and says, Ohio EPA, you're going to do what you need to do, or we're going to penalize you. And that's a big issue. I'm glad we have Division of Oil and Gas overseeing the oil and gas industry. And that was huge for us to have that. I know Speaker Batchelder had a big input on that a long time ago.
Great. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you so much. And if there's any questions afterward, I'm more than willing to answer anything. And I just appreciate everyone. You saw a little bit of what I go through every day. And you should see, they marched on my office last week, and it was rough. I mean, it's a really difficult, but I'm not going to give it up. And, you know, and I told the Speaker Batchelder that, you know, you believe in something that you created jobs, you're not going to, you're just going to move forward. So thank you very much for your time.
I definitely appreciate Dave coming up and speaking to us today. And he does put on the mileage. I know here recently we had to go to Lincoln Day dinners in 4 different counties, and he was at all of those. And just about everything we get invited to where you would think somebody, an elected official, would show up, Dave is always there. So he definitely puts on the miles. At any rate, as he mentioned, or somebody mentioned, Adam Frederick is dealing with this issue constantly in the county commission meetings. Dave Frost will tell you that they come up to the Medina City Council meetings. So if we can get active in civics locally, that would be very good to counteract some of the propaganda that we see going down. If you've never read Saul Alinsky's Rules for Radicals, you saw 2 items today. One is the fact that you can't dispute because it's beyond your knowledge. Quoting statistics from New York and Wyoming, for goodness sake. And the other one is the credibility thing. Oh, I'm one of you, I'm a Republican. Okay. Would you mind signing in so we can check that on the voter file?
The other thing is, I think we do have to make a distinction between the people that said, you know, that guy says, walk in and crucify the first 5 people you see. Okay, that's one. And someone who is, I think this woman is sincere, maybe misinformed, but sincere. So I do think there's, you know.
It is absolutely true that a lot of these people do get roped in and start, you know, using facts that they didn't personally check out. Right. Right. I mean, I'm just amazed, you know, my mother was a person that just was incredibly attracted to cats. She just loved cats. She was always donating to cat shelters everywhere. And she would have been so gullible to an outfit like PETA. HSUS, same thing.
Did anybody on the McFan list see the one I sent?
They've raised over $24 million from the public, PETA did, last year, and they saved 24 animals. Something's wrong with that number. I mean, $1 million per saved animal? They killed all the others.
Believe me, I'm the expert on humane society US. 1% of the money they take in goes through shelter. 1%. And the only reason that 1% goes is so they can say, I donated to the shelter. Never, ever, ever confuse your local humane society with the Humane Society US. Totally unaffiliated.
Right.
Some of these local humane societies do great.
Right, but they get that money because some people believe it.
The Humane Society US money goes to PAC, which ends up, it goes to a PAC, which ends up in political politicians.
Right. Anyway, we're breaking the meeting out. Some of you might want to chat with Representative Hall right after the meeting. Definitely vote for him, get out and work this fall.
If we're not in this district, anyway.
No, but you can make phone calls, you can knock on doors for him, etc. He's definitely a keeper. If you hadn't had the opportunity yet, be sure to sign in with the email address so we can keep you informed, invite you to future meetings like this. I don't see the donate can anywhere, but we live by donations, drop a $5 somewhere. And be sure to say hello to some of your friends and neighbors.